Hey kiddos, today I'm going to show you how to make a macro for the new 5 Nights TD event using FNTD Looter. First, let's make sure we set up the window properly before proceeding. Drag the game window all the way to the top left corner of your screen. Windows will auto-resize it to fit perfectly there. If it doesn't, you'll need to fix it. This part is really important, so don't skip it. If you're using a second account, do the same thing but drag the window to the top right corner instead. Let Windows auto-resize it to fit right there. Easy, right? If you're only using one account, you can skip these steps and just do the one on the top left. Now, if you're using a third account, do the same thing but drag it to the bottom left corner. And finally, if you're using a fourth account, drag it to the bottom right corner. Make sure to remember which account goes to each location because this is how you should set them up every time. The accounts must always follow this order. First account, top left. Second account, top right. Third account, bottom left. Fourth account, bottom right. You can't mix and match these locations. Always make sure to place the same account in the same corners every time. Alright, now let's go open up the customizer to make the macro. Drag the window down so it opens up the hidden menus. Then click Editor at the bottom. You should see this UI now. I know it looks scary, but trust me, it's easier than it looks. Now, let's give this macro a name. Pick something cool, because you'll be using it a lot. Alright, now we're going to select a game. Since this is for the event and not the regular nights, it's gonna be a little different. Don't worry, I'll walk you through it. Usually, in regular nights, if we pick this, it's game 1. But since this is for the event, we're going to make it game 2 instead of 1. Easy switch, right? And for game 2, we're going to make it game 3 instead. I know it sounds a little confusing, but don't worry, you'll get the hang of it in no time. Again, if you pick the hat, it's game 2. The gear, that's game 3. Simple, right? Just remember which one you're choosing. For this macro I'm making, I'm going with the gear icon and day 3. So in the UI, I'm picking game 3 and night 3, easy choice. Right, alright, now that's selected, let's fire it up and jump into the game so we can start placing those units. While we're waiting, let's click the Grab Windows button. If you're only using one Roblox account, you can ignore this step, just hold tight until we get to the game rituals. Alright, to see if the Grab Windows was successful, you should be able to use Shift plus less than sign to rotate between your game windows, just like this. If you're a little confused, just look at my units. See how they're changing? That's because we're swapping between the games in order from game 1 to game 4. Alright. Now onto the game rituals. See how this map is huge? We need to zoom out and look down to place our units properly. We're going to enable both zoom and look down in the menu. That way, whenever we start the macro, it'll automatically know to zoom out and look down for us. Before you do this, make sure you're in your default spawn location and camera. If you've accidentally moved or messed with your mouse, just reset your character to get back on track. Since we need to zoom out and look down, we'll have to set it up manually for now while we make the macro. To look down, press in bracket key. To zoom out, press out bracket key. And if you're using multiple accounts, replicate this to all your Roblox accounts by pressing Shift plus less than sign to switch between them. Then press the bracket keys for each one. Now, minimum window. What is this? It's basically asking how many Roblox accounts are going to be placing the units. If you're using just one account, leave it at 1. But since I've got 4 accounts and I'm using all 4 to place units, I'm putting 4 here. Now, since we're in hell mode, we've got an option to place units before the round starts, and that's called pre-place. Any units under pre-place will be placed before you select a modifier. Now, if we don't have a game that requires a modifier, we'll skip this step and go straight to placement. And that's basically where we set up the units that will be placed as soon as the wave starts. The one below it, called Unit Slot Selection, simply corresponds to the units in your hotbar. We'll come back to this later. Select window is the game windows. Remember when we set them in order earlier in the video, where window 1 is top left, window 2 is top right, window 3 is bottom left, window 4 is bottom right. Now onto upgrades. Since we're placing units under pre-place and we only have 3,000, we can't afford to upgrade them fully until the round starts. So, we're going to set the upgrades to no. We don't want to upgrade the unit as soon as we place it. Alright, now let's get to telling the program where to place all our units. Time to set up the locations. For this macro, we're going to start with our starter, which is located in hotbar slot 1. So, the unit slot selection on the program should also be set to 1, because it corresponds to our hotbar. Now, we're going to tell the program where to place the unit. So, press C on your keyboard when you find a good spot for your unit, and place it down. You should see the coordinates down here if everything goes well. If you see the coordinates, let's edit by pressing the Add button. And if you don't want to press the Add button and prefer it to add automatically, just check this box right here. It'll add the spot automatically when you press C. See, just like shown here, it added automatically right after pressing C. Alright, by now you should be getting the hang of it, so let's add more units down here. And boom, it's added to the pre-placed list box. Make sure to place the units in the game too. Now, we're going to rotate to the second window by pressing Shift plus less than sign and start placing units here as well. So, I only want to place one starter here and make sure we still have the correct unit slot selection in the program like this. Remember to always check this, so you don't accidentally place the wrong unit. Now we want to start placing this support on slot 4. So I gotta make sure I also change the slot in the program. You can use the 1 to 6 hotkeys on your keyboard to do this. I'm going to place it here and press C to input it into the pre-placed list box. Now it's time to go to the third Roblox account using the rotate key again, and place a couple of starters. One here, and again, double checking if my unit slot selection is correct along with the game window, and place them. Now, I want to add another one up here to cover this area, pressing C to input it into the pre-placed list box, followed by another support unit in slot 3. Pressing the 3 on my keyboard to change the unit slot selection in the program. Placing the unit here, and moving on to the last and final window 4, to place a couple more units down. Only placing two starters, one here and another one up top next to this other unit, followed by a damage support unit to increase our survivability. Alright, now that we've got all our pre-placed units down, we're moving on to the harder part. Placing units under placement this time so we can tell the program to place these units once the modifier has been selected. I am now going to click yes under upgrade, so once I place these units, I want the program to know that we want this unit to be upgraded as soon as it's placed. The first unit we're going to be placing down is the old man in slot 3. Again, we want this unit to be upgraded to the max as soon as we place it down. So I have the upgrade set to yes in the program. I started the game so I can find a spot to place these units without overlapping each other, and also to check whether or not I can survive using these units as a test to see if this macro will work. We're still using C to automatically input the unit onto the program, but this time it's under placement. Also, whenever you're playtesting and you've selected the unit to be upgraded, replicate these actions in-game to see whether or not your macro and placement will work. Okay, once I've fully upgraded the old man, I want to upgrade these units I placed on pre-place so I can make their boosters even stronger. To do that, I make sure I have upgrade set to yes, then go to the old location of the unit and input it as if you're placing the unit down. Pressing C to add it onto the placement list box with upgrades turned on. And manually upgrade the unit until they're maxed. We're going to replicate all these actions for each and every support unit placed down, so we can maximize their boosts. As seen here, I'm adding each support unit into the placement list box and manually upgrading them to the max. Since I forgot to fully max out the unit in window 2, I'm going to go back and max it out before moving on to the other units. Alright, sweet. Now that I've got my main damage and supports maxed out, I want to place a unit that will help me kill the boss faster, like this Chica, so I can lessen the time for each game and maximize my profit. Placing one here, with upgrades on and proper unit slot selection. Oops, looks like I accidentally input the same unit twice in the same spot, so we must select it and press remove to get rid of the duplicate from the list box. Since we're on this topic, if you ever want to change or update the unit settings, and check the auto input checkbox, remove the unit if needed, press C to get the location again. Select the changes you want to make, And finally click the update button below. And it should change the settings of the unit to your selected settings. Oh no, I just realized the boss spawned, so I'm gonna try to get to more locations for my Chica before the game ends. Wow! I somehow got that last location and managed to add it in at the last second. Okay, now we're done. The super important part, make sure to press saved. Read the pop-out window to ensure that it says that the macro was properly saved. Now that we've confirmed it's properly saved, we're going to close the whole program and restart it to make sure everything works as expected. Okay, once everything is restarted, look for your macro in the drop-down, select it, and ensure that your windows are properly set in their correct spots and that you're on the select game screen. In game, before pressing your start key. So let's check if our macro worked by pressing our start key. To check if the macro is working after pressing the start key, all the open game windows should be placed in the top left, and auto-selecting the game and night itself. Make sure not to move your mouse at this point, as it can cause the program to glitch out. If you ever want to force stop the program, press P on your keyboard and wait a few seconds, and then close the program. This is the end of the tutorial. The voiceover will now end here, as this part is just to showcase whether or not the macro is working. Thanks for watching and enjoy.